Indonesia is home to many ethnic groups. There are also classifications of many other ethnicities whose members reside on the island of Galimantan. Some of these tribes maintain traditional ways of life and practice belief systems founded upon the natural environment, especially due to zones of residence that are far away from developed zones. But from now on, development is approaching closer and closer. Modern conveniences will come to govern travel and ways of life. Contact with the outside world will bring in money, which will replace ways and means of exchange with the natural environment that these tribespeople have always been used to. The descendants of these tribes born following this stage of development will form an entirely different generation, removed by way of collective identity. The names of tribes like the Basur and Gutai may become documented in a certain museum in Nusantara. What will the role of these tribespeople be in the new capital that will open itself up to people from all over? This is something that cannot be predicted. Can the building of a new city improve the quality of the lives of the tribespeople? Their ancestral foundations have already disappeared from these jungles and mountains.
Sudah mulai ikut sih, buktinya ya mungkin sudah ada banyak pendatang yang datang ke sini terus beli tanah, mungkin mau membangun penginapan dan lain sebagainya sudah mulai ada, walaupun belum banyak tapi sudah mulai ada. Ya, harga tanah sebetulnya mulai naik, tetapi ini memang anjuran pemerintah kita dilarang untuk jual beli dulu. Termasuk kami dihimbau, saya dari pemerintah kan dihimbau masyarakat untuk sabar dulu, tidak menjual tanahnya. Itu memang.
Once the plan of the new city was made public, people started having grand images of their futures. They have been greatly inspired by new hopes and dreams. What has become increasingly challenging is the organization of the city's inhabitants. On one hand, there are the new residents who came from elsewhere, and on the other, there are residents who have always been here. How are these two groups of residents going to share space, while also allowing each other to conduct their normal activities? These are the major challenges that must be resolved along with the process of Nusantara's birth. In this episode, we meet the residents who have been here all along, on the land that is about to be completely transformed into Indonesia's new capital. From tribespeople to Nusantara Urbanites, the future society of Indonesia. The Basur people once inhabited the jungles of Gotong, Golak, and Loyang. Evidence of the settlement can be found in an old village called Lempesu, which once served as the center of the Basur Empire, which was ruled by the queen of the Basur people. Legend has it that the queen was born from a bamboo hollow, a miraculous phenomenon believed to be a sign that she had been sent from heaven to protect the tribespeople. The image of the Sepaku village appears with the first morning light of the new day. The Basur people begin the day's activities as they normally do. Visits like ours are a familiar sight to them, and they know how to welcome visitors. Everyone wants to see their traditional ways of life, but the tribespeople have stopped some of their usual practices due to modern conveniences that have just made life easier. If they do conduct these practices, it will be more for performance and conservation. And yet one aspect of their distinctive cultural heritage that has remained constant through the generations is the architecture. Building materials are sourced from the natural environment, and these materials vary by way of scarcity with the passage of time. Relief carvings exhibited on the wooden structures are examples of their folk heritage, and they have used the same language over many generations. We meet with Yahaya, who is working on a dictionary of Old Bahasa, a language that is facing the very real threat of extinction.
Yang pertama untuk melestarikan bahasa ibu, ya kan? Karena saat ini hampir punah, terutama anak muda yang seolah malu menggunakan bahasa pasir, bahasa ibunya. Dengan adanya buku ini, mereka akan mempelajari kembali dan mereka semangat lagi untuk berbahasa pasir.
Yahaya has spent over a year compiling this book of the Old Bahasa language. He has also submitted a proposal to the government stating that since the capital is to be transferred to this zone, the government should find ways and means of preserving the cultural heritage of the Bahasa people. Gupta House is an example of a site of traditional architecture that the government has supported. The site is used for conducting Bahasa ceremonies. Relief carvings depict floral images inspired by the vegetation grown by the Bahasa people, as well as animals of symbolic significance. These are the creations of Soradi, who is the Sepaku community's wood carver.
Saya waktu itu kan sekolahnya memang jurusan ukir kayu di Tenggarong, Kutai Kartanegara itu, Pak. Terus di situ ya mulai ngelutin udah. Mulai tahun 94 itu mulai aktif. Cuma kami masih ke toko-toko gitu jual ke toko. Mulainya 1994. Kalau sementara ini cuma saya sendiri. Cuma kalau ada kerjaan banyak, kami manggil teman. Kami punya grup ukir gitu. Grup ukir. Jadi kita lewat telepon aja langsung bergabung gitu.
All the wood carvings exhibited in Gupta House are the creations of Soradi, whose intention is to communicate images of the ways of life and the environment of the tribe. These images serve as evidence which shows how the tribespeople once lived. Even while other forms of evidence have faded away, the carvings continue to embody the spirit of the tribes whose qualities of mystery and enchantment are inaccessible to those without faith. During our visit, we also experienced the ways in which works of art reflect the abundance of the natural environment. Soradi has selected hard pieces of wood for carving. He has had extensive experience in studying the designs and patterns of the relief works of the different tribes all over the island. The urin is a hardwood that can be found in abundance here in this village. In fact, its hardness is considered a special property, so the locals call this species of wood metallic wood.
Karena pasaran di sini itu Pak masih agak sepi karena kan ya ibarat kan masih kampung gitu. Kalau insyaallah kalau ada ibu kota ya mudah-mudahan.
As a wood carver, Soradi must also adapt to the changing times. Contemporary style houses have less complex structuring. Some of the more detailed aspects of traditional beliefs have disappeared. There is less demand for large pieces of carvings. So Soradi has been carving small pieces for tourists to carry back home as souvenirs. The price is at 100,000 rupiah, or 244 baht per piece. Soradi also carves the name of each and every customer who buys his carvings. This small aspect of attention to detail is part of his amazing customer service. Apart from Soradi's working collective, the community also has a group of Basar ladies who run a batik textile collective.
Yang pertama memang kami kemarin belum ada batik khas dari Penajam Pasir Utara, memang kami mewakili dan alhamdulillah gayung bersambut. Jadi sekaligus kita memberdayakan masyarakat yang ada di Desa Bangun Mulia, sekaligus kita memproduksi motif-motif khas batik Penajam Pasir Utara.
This is Uninu Rahaya Tiyaka's Batik Collective. This group of Basar ladies was set up quite recently. Their founding goal is to build additional avenues of income for the group members.
Kalau rusa kebetulan ini kita angkat rusa sambar ya. Rusa sambar itu adalah salah satu satwa yang dilindungi oleh pemerintah daerah Kabupaten Penajam Pasir Utara. Jadi salah satu ikon Penajam Pasir Utara, dan salah satunya ini merupakan rusa unggulan yang ini ya menjadi ciri khas, sekaligus kita kan dalam hal ini ikut ini melestarikan budaya bangsa. Jadi kita tuangkan dalam satu motif.
Meanings communicated through the batik fabric incorporate the Basar people's intimate relationship with their natural surroundings. The intertwining, curved lines are metaphorical of the unity of the Basar people. Images of flora and fauna on the island of Galimantan symbolize abundance. Examples include depictions of deer and hornbills, which are part of the wildlife population of Galimantan. They divide themselves into groups with 4 to 5 members per group working on a single piece of fabric. It takes about a week to complete the entire textile, which will then be exhibited for sale.
Yang pasti kita akan melihat pasar atau permintaan dari pelanggan. Kadang ada beberapa pelanggan yang menginginkan produk jadi atau potensi-potensi ke depan. Kemarin kami terakhir dari Taipei, kami mengirim juga ke Taipei, Taiwan. Mereka minta bentuk scarf. Hari ini Malaysia juga menyampaikan ingin ada pengembangan produk jadi berupa sarung. Jadi kami akan melihat potensi. Mungkin untuk awal kita produksinya kain, tapi pada akhirnya kita kalau misalnya ada potensi permintaan berupa produk jadi, baju atau apa, kita akan menyesuaikan.
Uninu Rahaya Tiyaka tells us that if she becomes part of the making of the new capital, she will still want to keep working with batik textiles. In that case, the batik will have to be adapted so that the functions are more diversified. In the future, this place will not only be a tourism destination, but it will also accommodate a wide variety of goods and products from other places. So if the product of her working collective is not continually improved and developed, it will not be able to stand up to the competition.
Penduduk kita yang ada di sana itu kurang lebih sekitar 39.000 jiwa, ya. Pada umumnya sesungguhnya semuanya mereka menyambut baik, ya. Namun ada beberapa orang, sekelompok-kelompok tidak besar, tidak banyak, sedikit, yang masih mempertanyakan, nanti ini kami di mana? Setelah ibu kota pindah ini kami diapakan? Nah, kan tentu perlu penjelasan ya. Pemerintah daerah, saya dan teman-teman lainnya, termasuk Kapolres, Dandim, bekerja sama untuk meyakinkan mereka bahwa pemindahan IKN ini insya Allah akan mensejahterakan mereka.
We travel to our next destination, which is a suburban community of the Basar Regency in East Galimantan. Over the course of 187 kilometers, we drive up and down mountains, reaching a plateau on the central part of a mountain range inhabited by the Basar people. The majority of the population works on palm oil plantations. We have an appointment with the Sultan of the Regency, who is a local Basar. The Sultans no longer have absolute power, as they had in the historical past. And yet the sultans still carry the hopes of the people, since it is the sultans who deliver their voices and demands to the government's projects and platforms for policy making.
Ya, kita berharap adat-adat istiadat pasir nanti bisa dilindungi lah oleh pemerintah, ya terutama oleh pemerintah pusat dan pemerintah daerah. Karena memang kita orang Pasir di Kabupaten Pasir, Penajam Pasir Utara dan Balikpapan ini sekarang sudah minoritas. Banyak suku-suku lain yang ada di sini. Jadi tidak ada cara lain kecuali nanti ada bantuan dari pihak pemerintah untuk melindungi adat istiadat kita yang ada. Waktu dulu saya pernah bertemu dengan KSP, setap kepresidenan. Saya mengusulkan supaya di seputaran IKN itu pemerintah pusat menyediakan lahan seluas lebih kurang 20.000 hektar. Jadi di situ maksud saya dari lembaga adat Pasir ini supaya ada tempat nanti untuk masyarakat adat Pasir ini memperkenalkan budayanya kepada orang-orang luar nanti yang datang ke ibu kota negara, tidak usah jauh-jauh keliling-keliling, mau kalau melihat adat budaya Pasir cukup di satu tempat di situ aja.
20 hektar ya?
20.000 hektar kita minta. Nah, tapi sayang sampai sekarang usulan kita belum ada respon dari pemerintah pusat.
Since Indonesia is an archipelagic state, the different islands must be able to stand on their own feet and have a united spirit of public participation as members of the country. Most sultans tend to select locals to serve as part of their team. Then again, these team members cannot hold positions of extreme opposition against the government. This sultan is trying to preserve the cultural identity of the tribes before this zone becomes transformed. The first priority is to protect the areas that the community members use to make their livelihood. In the event that the land gets sold, the construction of new structures will certainly have an effect on the community. At the very least, the locals will have to transition to other jobs in which they must start all over again from the ground up.
Ya, kita sebenarnya sangat berharap itu, Bapak, supaya itu bisa dikabulkan oleh pemerintah pusat. Karena menurut saya tidak ada cara lain kecuali itu. Karena kalau kita lihat tadi contohnya seperti di Jakarta, kalau tanah-tanah itu dimiliki secara pribadi oleh perorangan, nanti lama-kelamaan itu akan dijual kepada orang luar. Dan akhirnya tanah yang dimiliki itu habis. Nanti orang Pasir yang punya di situ tidak ada lagi. Nah, nanti mereka akan tersingkir jauh ke belakang sana kan. Nah, itu yang kita tidak inginkan. Tapi kalau dibuat kawasan khusus, itu dimiliki oleh secara kolektif semua masyarakat Pasir yang ada di 3 kabupaten ini, tidak bisa diperjualbelikan. Itu kita harap nanti bisa sampai kapanpun peradaban Pasir masih akan tetap ada di situ. Gitu.
Ya, kalau adat kami itu kalau sampai dihilangkan karena pemindahan ibu kota, ya sangat kami tolak gitu kan. Justru kita dengan adanya budaya kita yang ada, itu kan untuk memperkaya hasanah untuk mengisi ibu kota negara. Sebab kekuatan Indonesia ini kan di budaya, dengan jumlah penduduk, jumlah bahasa dan sebagainya. Nah, kalau di kami hanya karena ibu kota berpindah terus dihilangkan budayanya, ini tentu sangat berbahaya, kurang elok lah untuk dianukan.
Mereka adat Pasir itu banyak, ada tari-tarian, ada tarian khas yang dulu dilakukan pada masa lampau sampai saat ini masih dilestarikan. Jadi pada saat-saat tertentu suku Pasir itu melakukan tarian adat yang khas, itu yang khusus. Kemudian mereka juga punya upacara-upacara adat yang khas, yang khusus, yang masih dilestarikan hingga saat ini.
The majority of the population in the Pasir Regency is Muslim. There are mosques near people's homes, and the Dungrud Falah Mosque is in the community square. Not too far away is the sea, which is the source of food for saltwater animals and the people on the island.
Kami menyambut dengan baik karena itu tentu saja akan juga memicu pertumbuhan ekonomi, menopang pertumbuhan ekonomi karena kita adalah daerah bertetangga dengan calon ibu kota negara. Jadi secara umum kami menyambut dengan baik. Yang kedua nanti kan juga akan membutuhkan berbagai hal dari pasir, termasuk tadi wisata. Pasti mereka membutuhkan wisata untuk mereka kunjungi untuk berlibur. Kemudian tadi juga sudah jelaskan dari unsur pangan, kita tentu siap menjadi penyangga pangan bagi ibu kota negara.
The Gupta people are neighbors on the same island. Their ways of life are not so different. Their clothing and language set them apart. Samalinda, the home of the Gupta tribe, was once a prosperous mining zone. It's as though the Gupta people have been specifically chosen to serve as guardians of these natural resources. This guardianship has resulted in specialized professions that form their primary livelihood. Boatloads of coal are transported along this route all day long. The port town on the bank of the Mahagam River is governed by the Sultan of the Gupta tribe. The locals must prepare for events that will come to pass and for their home to be transformed forever.
Kita bersatunya untuk meningkatkan perekonomian, pendapatan asli daerah bersama kerjasama dengan pemerintah daerah.
An abundance of resources has attracted other tribespeople to Samalinda, and there is mutual respect for each other's cultures. They have shared zones of livelihood, traded and exchanged, making this zone a busy port town for many centuries. There is also income from tourists who travel here to observe the ways of tribes that they have never seen before. All these aspects have created a kind of charm for this land, and a quality well worthy of preservation.
Tidak apa-apa lah. Yang penting orang luar mengikuti bahasa kita, aturan kita, dan harus kita pertahankan adat istiadat.
An important Gupta tradition takes place on the 29th of September of every year. Samalinda will celebrate the anniversary of the founding of the Gupta tribe. The festival will host the Tali Japan dance, which is a traditional Gupta dance with Malay and Islamic influences. The dance is popular in East Galimantan, especially in the Mahagam river zones and the banks inhabited by the Gupta people. The old and the new are told through the stories of many different tribes. The pride in their respective cultural heritage can be observed in the sense of unity that has created peace and reduced conflict. The tribespeople are not rejecting the development of the future city, but they are concerned that the introduction of new things may end up destroying the peaceful conditions that they have created together, along with a whole wide range of unpredictable factors that may come into play. It's important for them to have platforms for negotiation and for airing their views so that they can participate in the newly forming community. And they must have an improved quality of life, which is no different from the new arrivals. If these conditions of mutual respect can be accomplished, Indonesia's new capital city of Nusantara can become a model city where there is no racial or tribal discrimination.
Food Walk